Missile Arm Solutions. Today we've got a really big treat for you. Only probably 11 other people in the entire world right now have had an opportunity to get an advanced look at the new Glock Generation 5 pistol. I was one of those. About 2 weeks ago, we were invited. I was very fortunate to be invited with a very select group of journalists to go to Glock USA, to Glock Professional, for two purposes. One was to get a first-hand look at the new Glock Generation 5 Model 17 and 19 pistols. And two was to be able to experience their new Glock Operators course. And both of them went right together. Not only did we get a chance to go through the new pistol to see all the new features, we got to actually run through a course with that new pistol to see some of these excellent benefits. And I have to say I was not disappointed. Glock has continuously improved these guns incrementally to make them more comfortable to shoot, more reliable, more durable, more accurate. The Gen 5 Glock is no different. So we're going to jump right into this, but I want to go over a couple of the differences, the Glock Gen 3 to the Glock Gen 4 and now Gen 5. First off, we're going to look at the original Gen 3. The main difference between the Gen 2 and the Gen 3 was the frame itself. They added the gripping grooves, or the finger grooves. Now that was controversial. Some people really liked it, some didn't. I have to say myself, I rather liked it. I thought it gave you a good perch on there. But that was one of the main differences between the two. And now we have the Gen 3 to the Gen 4, which had many, many differences. What we have here is a Gen 4, which has the front gripping grooves. Now, this had quite a few differences. Primarily, you had a new change in the frame. You had the addition of the removable, customizable back straps that will let you, if you had a larger hand or a smaller hand, which was a very big benefit. And number 3, most importantly, was the change in the recoil mechanism. You got away from the single flat recoil spring to a dual recoil spring system. And because of that, also, you had a slide that was not compatible with everything that went rearward. You also had a frame that was not compatible rearward because it had to be manufactured to accept the new recoil spring. And the Gen 4 has been quite popular. In fact, the Gen 4 has been one of the ones that has been selected by SOCOM in the versions 19. Many of the ones that are being bought by Special Forces right now are of the Gen 4 variation. Well, the Gen 5 just was announced today. When we were at Glock USA, we actually had to sign NDAs that we would not reveal any information or any pictures of anything until Glock had their full unveiling. So we were really under a shroud of secrecy until Glock made their move with it. Now, the first thing I really want to say about the G17 Gen 5 was it really comes out of the Model 17M, which was a pistol that was designed for the FBI. The Model 17M had many of the features that you see on the Gen 5, plus some additional ones. Some of the main features with the 17M that were different had to do with the finishes on the inside of the trigger mechanism. The trigger mechanism on the 17M was more of a blackish color, where you had the electroless nickel type that you see on the Gen 5. So there was a lot of lineage between the 17M and the Gen 5. For the most part, the major features are the same. So the Gen 5 has technically been in use with several police departments throughout the country. So it's been fielded as the 17M. So now we have the official unveiling of the 17 Gen 5, and I'm very pleased to be able to show you firsthand what some of these major changes are. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to start right in the front. If you were to compare the Gen 4 muzzle to the Gen 5 muzzle, you can see how the muzzle is squared off on the Gen 4. You have it rounded off on the Gen 5. So it's a little bit easier to go in and out of holsters. The next really major feature we have on here is the change in finish. Now, if you look at the difference between the finish, you have more of a jet black on the Gen 5 versus more of a matte black on the Gen 4. The finish on the new Gen 5s is what's referred to as an NDLC, or an ion bonded type finish. This finish, according to Glock, is more durable than anything they've had in the past, including the original Tenefer finish that was used on the Gen 1s. So this finish is to be proven to be more durable. Only time will tell, since this is brand new. But Glock has consistently updated their finishes. Looking at the finishes between the two guns, we need to talk a little bit about the Tenefer process, the original finish that was on the original Glock pistols. When the Glock USA opened up and started doing production, they were unable to do the tender-for process here in the U.S. The reason was EPA. The finish that was used in the tender-for process was a cyanide-based finish that was not legal due to EPA regulations. So there was an additional finish that they came up with that was just as good. And now we're looking at the next generation of finishes. The next thing we want to talk about is the barrel. This barrel is not the same barrel as you have on your other pistols. This is an enhanced barrel that's referred to as the Glock marksmanship barrel. This is a new rifling which is designed to enhance accuracy. And we have to say that I did notice a little bit of that in the class itself with some of the precision accuracy. I do think that it can be noticeable. You're still not going to be firing lead ammunition. It is still a polygon or a hammer forged barrel that you're not going to be doing that with. This barrel is not interchangeable with any other slide. This is specifically marked Gen 5, and if you're able to see, you will see that there's a 5 on the barrel top itself, where you're able to notice that this is a Gen 5 barrel. The next thing we're going to take a look at, and you're going to see a photograph of this because you're not going to be able to see it here, is the firing pin. The striker has been changed. Glock has traditionally used an elliptical shaped striker. That's now been changed to a more rounded, more standard rounded profile rather than the spear shaped. There's been several other enhancements that have been done within the inside, but we're going to take this thing apart in a few minutes. We're going to continue looking at the outside right now. The next thing we want to look at is the slide stop. We have ambidextrous on the left and the right-hand side for the slide stop, which has been requested by many people. You know, my feelings on that is not necessary because the way you're taught to utilize a Glock pistol is this is a slide stop, not a slide release. For the people who wanted slide releases, Glock had come up with an enhanced release, so it was longer so your thumb could actuate it. So for me, I don't use the slide release. I slingshot it back and let it go. But this is going to give you the new ambidextrous features which many people are looking for. Looking further down on the frame, they've changed the groove on the bottom here from the original. Some people had complained that when they would fire this pistol, that groove would cause issues with their finger. So Glock has reshaped that groove on here to eliminate that, to make it much easier for you to grip. And you can notice that they have gotten rid of the finger grooves. Now the finger grooves, again, I liked it, but you know, everybody has their own opinion on what they like and what they don't like. I don't see Glock stopping making the Gen 3s and the Gen 4s. I still think you're going to have that option as time goes on, but they did, as on the 17M, they got rid of the finger grooves on here. You do still have the removable back straps that comes with several different options. And also, the magazine well has changed. It has been flared to make it easier for insertion in low-level light compared to the original one. And along with the magazine well, we're going to talk about the new magazines right now as well. The new magazines utilize a orange follower instead of a black follower. And also you'll notice the floor plates have been changed as well. These go along much more so with the new flared magazine well than the original ones do. However, the Gen 5 is backwards compatible with every Glock 17 magazine that's ever been made. Whether it's a Gen 1, 2, 3, whether it's a drop-free, whether it's not, whether it's the 33-shot magazines, the 10s. The pistol has 100% compatibility with all magazines that have ever been made. So I don't know when we're going to see this converted over to every magazine, but I do imagine we're going to see this follower and that floor plate be going from now forward. But that's for Glock to announce, not me, what their plans are with that. The magazine bodies are the same. They both use the same mold code as well, which is 1587-01. So the magazine body has stayed the same. It's the follower that's changed and the floor plate that's changed. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this thing apart. We're going to take a look on the inside. Now looking at the recoil spring mechanism, this is not the same as used on the Gen 4. This is slightly longer, and it's improved. So many of the parts on the Gen 5 are not compatible backwards. You're going to see a lot of components on here that are that way. So it's not, I'm not going to say it's a brand new gun in design, but many of the features have been redesigned to make the gun even better from what it is. As we spoke about the barrel, this is their Glock match grade barrel. And again, we'll notice it by the 5. Now, these pistols here are the exact same pistols that we, the writers, were using in the class 2 weeks ago. So we've already got probably 200 to 400 rounds on these things in the class. So you'll see this pistol is not entirely brand new. Now, in order to show you some of the features on the slide, what we're going to do is we're going to take apart a Gen 4, and we're going to show you what some of those differences are. Now, Gen 5 that you will notice, the firing pin safety has been redesigned. You'll see how this looks more like the G42 and G43 versus the round button. The extractor has been redesigned. The firing pin has been redesigned. So we have several enhancements that go along with that. So along with that, you have those changes that have been made to the frame as well. You'll notice that it was referred to as the first pin on the Gen 4 has now been removed. You now only have one pin on the Gen 5 pistol, which certainly saves you some additional components. Now, looking inward, we can see some more major differences. First off, these are going to be very difficult to see, but we're going to try to get some pictures to insert in here to be able to show. The spring that holds the slide stop here, the spring on the Gen 4 and below, those were all like a leaf-type spring that fit into the receiver. The new one utilizes a circular spring, which is a much more durable spring, does not wear out. I don't think you probably would ever wear it out. So that's been a major change. The locking block itself is a major change from the original one. The trigger bar mechanism has all been redesigned as well. It's different, not compatible. Your trigger housing on both, all new. Those are not compatible either. You will also see that there's been some changes in the extractor as well. And another major feature that's been changed is the way that you utilize the trigger return spring. On the Gen 4, as you see over here, you can see right here the way that spring is pulled. It's reversed on the Gen 5. So it increases the life massively on that component. In my experience with doing a lot of destruction testing on Glocks and a lot of extensive testing over the years, that is the only part of this gun I've ever broken, was the trigger return spring. As the years have gone by, Glock has made those springs even better. You'll see the differences between, you had like a case hardened finish look to what we have now is the silver color or gray. So you'll see there's been some changes in there. The pistols, as usual, they both utilize the trigger safety. They both utilize the firing pin safety. They both utilize the drop safety. So you have the same mechanism for as far as guaranteeing that your pistol is not going to discharge unless you physically pull the trigger. The way the safeties work on these pistols are, which we'll show right here. Now, demonstrating on the Gen 3 here of how the safeties work. Your first safety is the trigger safety. Now, unless the trigger is pulled, pushing this in, the trigger cannot move. Unlike some of the recent unpleasantness we've seen with the P320, there is a physical block which prevents this trigger from moving when if the trigger's not pulled. This is a physical block. Unlike like we had with the P320, where there was no manual or physical block on there, so when it was dropped on that angle, the trigger would go down through its own momentum and it would discharge. The Glock will not do that. The second one, as you pull the trigger, it comes to where the connector is right on the trigger bar. Now at that point, as the trigger bar is coming to the rear, it's lifting upward on the firing pin block. While it's lifting upward on the firing pin block, it disengages it, so when the trigger is pulled all the way, the drop safety is what drops the trigger down, which releases the striker to fire. And what that does is when that safety is engaged, the firing pin cannot move forward, or the striker cannot move forward until the trigger is pulled to the rear, which is another thing. Once you have the trigger released, all three of these safeties are engaged. Just like when you pull the trigger and you're right to that point before it breaks and you release, now all three safeties are back engaged. The Gen 5 has all of that as well. Now, during FBI testing, the Glock 17M, very similar to this one, went through 11,000 rounds, mean rounds between failures. That is virtually unheard of with most pistols. Actually, I don't know of any pistols that have gone over that, which shows the degree of durability. And it was actually a Glock 19 that did that. It wasn't a 17. It was the FBI was incredibly impressed with that degree of durability that came out of it. So what we have here is not just a couple changes. This pistol, for all intents and purposes, has many parts that have been re-engineered and redesigned. I do want to go over just another a quick overview of some of these changes in case you missed them. There's a lot of details that were in there. I also want to show this O-light that I got on here as well. I received this a couple days ago, and I got to tell you, this thing here will light up an entire room. I've been extremely impressed with this tactical light. It is an LED type light. It has a touch, leaves it on, off. So just going over those changes one more quick time. Changing the shape of the muzzle of the pistol. It's now, the edges are now broken on there. You have the Glock's marksmanship barrel, which improves accuracy and with improved rifling. You have the improved finish. You have a re-engineered trigger mechanism, trigger housing, extractor. You have a new redesigned firing pin safety, trigger bar, all which is new. A new recoil spring assembly. You have a re-engineered frame, getting rid of the finger grooves, giving you a flared magazine well. You have the modification in this area in here to make it easier on your hand. So we have there's quite a bit different about this pistol. I do like what they did with the magazines as well. I do like the orange followers. I'm starting to see a couple different companies that are going this route. This is excellent for safety. I had an opportunity prior to fire 400 or 500 rounds through this pistol at Glock Professional during the operator's course. I can say from all 11 of us that were there, who probably all fired the same amount of ammunition, about 400 rounds each, there was not one malfunction anywhere. Everybody got through the course without any issue. There was no malfunctions. I was very pleased with the pistol. The only thing that I think I would do is, this pistol will not go back to Glock. I'm actually going to buy this one. I was very, very happy with it. I'm probably going to take a file. I'm going to dull these down here a little bit. The one thing that I noticed was throughout those 2 days of extensive shooting, they got a little bit prickly. So I just think for me, the way my hands are, the way my skin are, I'm probably going to want to just knock off some of the edges on there. But the way the aggressiveness is of this checkering, it did not move from your hand. I imagine these things are going to be replacing a lot of guns out there right now. You're seeing a lot of trends in law enforcement. The guys who had bought the Model 40 and the 40 calibers and the 45s, you're seeing that trend going back to 9mm. The new ammunition that's out now, ammunition like the Gold Dot 2 or the HST, there's no longer a major benefit to going with a 40 or a 45. You have a smaller pistol, lighter recoil, more accuracy. You're seeing law enforcement is now going back to the traditional 9mm. So I imagine the 17 Gen 5s, you're going to be seeing a lot of service with law enforcement. A lot of guys who are going to be replacing their Glock 22s or Glock 21s, their older generation guns. I imagine they're going to be seeing a lot more of these. And according to Glock when we were there, they're not going to be stopping making the other versions. The Gen 4, I don't know. I could see them dropping the Gen 4. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I see the Gen 3 remaining because you do have people to this day who still prefer the original recoil spring mechanism. I've utilized them both. I definitely see there is a difference in recoil between the two. I do believe that the new recoil spring does dampen recoil. It does take some stress off of the frame as well. I like it. Also, when you're using, significant amounts of plus P and plus P plus ammunition, anything that takes any wear and tear off of the frame is a good thing. These pistols, just like the Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, Gen 4, and the Gen 5, these are all plus P and plus P plus rated. You can fire that ammunition without any kind of damage to the pistol whatsoever. You can fire them underwater for special operations guys who are trained. I see a lot of guys who like to do the underwater firing on YouTube. I will recommend all of you guys out there that I would not recommend you do it. Their Glock actually trains people how to do that. There are some things that you don't want to get involved with, especially the noise underneath. You don't want to have people going out there using hollow points to having the barrel expand in the barrel. There's a lot of things that you don't want to mess around with that. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take this pistol to the range, and we're going to see how it shoots. Also, we're going to see some footage from the Glock operators course that I was at in Smyrna.
Tight grip.
as comfortable, as accurate as you would expect out of a Glock. I do see definitely a little bit of a difference without having the finger groups. Don't know whether I like it or I don't. I do like the finger groups. Bullets are going right where they're supposed to. I certainly feel very, very honored to be invited to the Glock Summit. That was something that there was a very, very select group of people that went to. There was only like 11 or 12 of us. To be honest with you, I didn't see any YouTubers there at all. I saw Firearms Blog. I saw some other guys from some of the podcasts and things such. I didn't really see anybody else there from YouTube. The people that were there were very highly respected in the industry. They were people who Glock thought highly of, to ask them their opinions and what they thought of the new products. To be able to have the ability to go and put a whole bunch of rounds through this pistol in their brand new course. The new course is open to both military, law enforcement, NRA certified instructors, as well as members of GSSF. The course is excellent. I believe it's only $400, but it's a basic operator's course that helps you become more proficient with your gun. I was very, very impressed with the whole setup. The class instructors were all military law enforcement background. They were giving you everything from all of your basic fundamentals of marksmanship to stances to different ways to do tactical reloads. They showed you many different ways how to do a lot of different things, and they let you say, "This is how you try each of these ways," and then you determine what works best for you, which was also awesome because they didn't tell you this is the only way to do it. The instructors, their communication was awesome. Their presentation was awesome. It was all top rate. These are also some of the same guys who will do armorers courses. Chris Edwards was there. Chris Edwards is they call him Gen 1 because he goes back to Glock in 1985, in that era when they first came in with the guns. They first had the Gen 1s, and there's very few people left at Glock who were around back in those days. Chris is the range master down at Glock Professional. But the instructors were great. I've been shooting my whole life. I walked away with quite a bit. I'm by no means am a master pistol shot, by no means. I picked up quite a bit from this course. Any of you guys who fit that criteria of law enforcement, military, NRA certified, or GSF members, take a look into this course. It's right down there in Smyrna, Georgia. It's right down the street from the original Glock facility. There's two different facilities. You have Glock Inc., which is the manufacturing and the headquarters. Then you have another building, which is Glock Professional, which is where all the training and the range, all that takes place. But overall, the experience was awesome. I'm glad to be able to be one of the first of 11 or so in the world to be able to bring this to you. The brand new Glock Gen 5 pistol. And this pistol is going to be going through quite a bit over the next couple of years. We'll be putting a lot of rounds through it. We're going to see how everything holds up. We're going to do some more comparisons between this and the Gen 4. Now, the first two models are going to be the 17 and the 19. That's what I expect to see at SHOT Show this year. And there's no commitment right now on what the next models are going to be. I think Glock right now is just trying to get out the first run of the first offer, which is the 17 and 19. I did ask the Vice President, Josh Dorsey, about the MHS. Will we ever see a commercial version of the MHS? And all he said to me was to keep your eyes open. So I'm going to look at that optimistically, that we're going to see a version of the MHS pistol at some point. That's not their priority right now. Their priority right now is getting out the Gen 5. And it was been done very, very well. they were able to keep this secret from a lot of from a lot of the internet or a lot of the industry, or do we want to call it industry grapevine. They took this very seriously when we went there. We signed NDAs. Even the FFLs we sent to had to have NDAs to make sure that the Glock was the one to announce this, not somebody who was leaking information. So they did a really good job at that. I'm very grateful to be able to be part of that group who was able to do that. And if you guys have any questions regarding this new pistol, please leave me a comment. I'll see if I can answer it. You're going to see more information coming out as the days go on. Thank you.